Okay, now we're going to work with some 2-point ellipses, but we're going to do them standing up, and you'll see how they're a little bit different too as well than the 1-point look. So the 2-point looks a little bit different obviously than the 1-point, but they're similar in terms of, and when you're sketching, you're going to be sketching what looks natural anyway, but you can feel the difference between the 1-point and 2, and that's part of what we're doing here as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and lay in then a horizon line here, and so I'll put it about halfway to the camera, and then we'll put vanishing points that are inside the camera too as well. So let me see, I might figure out, we've got a little station point out here, center vision station point, so that would be our station point, and we could put our vanishing points. I'll just put them here. One about here for RVP, and then obviously the other one here for LVP. So they're approximations, which should be totally fine. So we have left vanishing point, right vanishing point, and we're good to go. All right, so let's put them kind of in maybe a stacked type scenario. And so what I'll do is we'll put them roughly about in through here, and let's see, make sure we're in camera, so we'll draw a line up here like so, and we'll make them, we want to make them look like squares in perspective, and so we'll start with the first one maybe about right here. Looks to be pretty good, and we'll project out from the left vanishing point out through here. And so we could put this one on a kind of a left plane, and we'll come out this way a little bit on the left vanishing point, and then we'll put this in the sky plane, keep it about right in through, let's see, maybe a little bit lower, right in through there, so I'll put a dot there, and I'll project out from the left vanishing point out diminishment and increase in size and through there, and then I'll cut this off about right in through there. Looks pretty good. Okay, so I'll bring over my vertical here in through there, and then we've got that, and so we can do the same thing with another one maybe underneath it. Why don't we leave a little bit of space, and we'll put it mostly in, we'll put that one in the sky plane, and we'll put this one in the ground plane. How about that? And then we can measure these out actually and make them the same, roughly the same size. They're about 2 inches, just a little bit over 2 1/8, and so I could do it that way to make them closer to the same. So I could put 2 1/8 right in through there, so it's about the same length. Or you could have just used your compass as calipers, if you will. So a lot of different ways to do that. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. So there we go. We have that vertical there, and then we'll just bring the other one. Go ahead and bring it over now, downward, through there and over. And then we'll bring from the left vanishing point over to here and through, and then over from the left vanishing point again and through here as well. There we go. So we'll do these in this direction here. Okay, so there we go. All right, so let me darken in this bottom one a little bit, so make sure that you can see it. Okay, there we go. Okay, nice and clear, cleaned up. All right, so move this off a little bit. Okay, let's start with the top one a little bit. So let's find the perspective center, so we'll use our crossing X as always here, and then of course there. Might as well do the same thing at the bottom too, huh? So we'll do the same thing here. And also there's our crossing X's for both of our ellipses, there and there. Okay, so we have that. Okay, so now from our perspective center out, so what we need now is from the left vanishing point through the center point of our plane there, our left plane of our form, there and there. Okay, same thing at the bottom. Okay, here and here, so got that going. All right, and then we can do that with the vertical as well, coming through. We want to create enough measuring touching points to make this work for us here, and now also in through here as well. Okay, so now what we can do is quarter these off by crossing X here, right, and here, okay, and here, and also there too as well. Let's do the same thing now at the bottom, okay, here, whoops, get all of that, there we go, and there, okay, and there, and also, excuse me, and there as well. Okay, so now we've got that. Okay, now let's find our true perspective center to our major axis, and they're going to be tilted a little bit because we're in 2 point, and that's going to mean something in a moment. So first off, let's measure that so we can find where we put our major and minor axis. So through here, we'll draw back up, and this will be for both, by the way. All right, so now we've got that, and I'm going to bring the camera up a little out and down so you can see this a little bit better. Make sure you see that. There we go. And then I'll go back in so we can see. There you go. Right there. Okay. So make sure we're nice and perpendicular with the camera. So now they're gonna find our true perspective center flat part of it, not our perspective center, but the flat part of it running through there. So half of that line, and that's a pretty good estimate right there. And if I measured it, it is an inch. It is, excuse me, an inch and about almost 3/4. So that looks pretty good there. Through. Okay, so we'll bring that down. So there's our flat center. So we can bring it, since I've got both of them, I can bring it here all the way through, right? And I'll continue to go on through so we can do that. So we can find our true perspective half, right? Remember that. It's half there, right? Half and also half. Okay, so there we go. There's our major, at least the setup to find our major and minor axis. We have to be careful because they're 90 degrees. So next thing we want to do is find our minor axis. So remember that acts like a axle. And so because it's 2 point, this is where it looks a little bit different. So we have to come to the right vanishing point through that area. Now the perspective center, right in through there first. So right in through the center first. We go through that perspective center there. Okay, and then on out. Bingo. Okay, we have the axle type minor axis through our perspective center. Come on out there. There we go. Through our perspective center. There we go. That's it. Now, so we have our minor axis, so we'll label that both of these minor here and also here. So remember now we're 90 degrees, and that's in perspective, so we have to go 90 degrees from that. Now where they're touching at, right here, okay, and also right there, that's where we start to find our 90 degrees from. So we'll come up, we'll lay that on there, and we have our minor axis already set in. Our major axis is going to be pushed off. Okay, we're going to come in this direction. So we're going to come here like so. There we go. That's important to find. Okay, so we have that in there. So I'm not going to draw this downward because I want to be careful. Remember, this is going to be at 90 degrees. This is 90. So they're at 90 now, set in at 90. Now this one's going to be a little bit different, and I'll tell you why. Because we have 90 degrees now from where they meet right there, right? So we have to set up 90 degrees because it's lower in the composition. That's going to change that angle of our major axis, right? Through, and they'll look a little bit different too. It's funny how that is. All right, so our major axis then gets pushed over. Take a look at that. It gets pushed over here. And I might draw this one actually through just a little bit so you can see it. I do that better. There we go. So there's our major axis. Major axis here, major up here. Right, there's our major axis there. And then remember, again, the minor axis acts like an axle to a wheel. That's why they're there. And they're coming out from a right vanishing point, and we have a left plane to put the ellipse on. That's going to change the look and feel. So we'll compare these two. I think it'll be interesting for you to look at this. So let me sharpen up. And then now it's a little bit different. Now, normally we would demarcate where it touches over here, right, for our true half. And we're not going to, since we're in 2 point, we're not going to do that. We're going to come through the perspective center and through here. So we're going to touch here, we're going to touch here, right? And then we're going to go about halfway through here, halfway through to give us a good idea, right? And halfway through there. Okay, now we can start to draw our ellipse. So through the perspective center, not the true center, but the perspective center, and through here, since we're in 2 point, we'll come through about half and behind. Keep on coming over. So that's a little bit different. Make sure you're aware of that. It gets a little bit crazy to remember these. So I'm a little bit flat here already. So we'll start over. Okay. Keep on coming through. There we go. Curve a little bit more to come through that point. And we'll come downward. Touch the inside. Right in through there. Let me come in a little bit too so you can see a little bit better. There we go. All right. So we're coming through here. Coming on over, bringing it on over, touching right there. Okay, because we're in 2 point now. And we'll come through, right through there, not the red, but now pushed over. We'll come through, right through there. Slightly behind it to give us the thickness, and we're coming up to there, where our touching point is right there. And over, so it might be a little bit too curved here, so I can draw this line. I know I'm going to erase a little bit. I'm just kind of practicing through what they'd come through, right in through there. So now I can come over and erase a little bit. So you have to be careful about where you're touching. That's the thing. In 1 point and 2 points, so make that clear. Here we go through 2 point. We use that perspective center, not the true center. That's where our major axis still is. It's a little bit confusing. Okay, right in through there. Then we're coming through this back, or this side over. There we go, coming through, touching. And then I'm going to lean my body way over. I can't be any further away than I am now drawing, but that's okay. So we're coming through, touching here through the perspective center, and then out and over. And this is going to curve a little bit, and I'm going to have to correct that a little bit right in through there. Okay. So let me come back over and correct. There we go. Get that curve going. There we go. Try to keep my big head out of the way. A big old ugly head. Then we come through here. And we'll curve it. There we go. Okay, so there we go. We've got now our first 2 point ellipse. Now, because this is something to be aware of. Now, because we have a left plane, it's like a tube being cut off, if you think of it, a cylinder being cut off. So from the right vanishing point out to where we see these lines end in our ellipse, that could be like the start of a cylinder. I want you to see that there. And also through our perspective center. And actually, yeah, about right in through there and on down and out. See the difference between that now while we have that perspective center? And so what we see now is we can recreate that curve over through here if you want. But I'm going to leave it. That gives you the feeling of, again, why we come through and why we have 2 point ellipses, because they help us with those cylinders. And of course there's your major and minor axis at 90 degrees. So let me strengthen in this major axis a little bit better, going downward here through 90 and over, right through here, and also right through below through there. And so we have a nice big puzzle piece. Okay. So we found the true of it, just to get, from the true measuring, just to get the center point for that, to get our axis right in through there. But we still came through, again, our perspective center. So just be careful, be aware of that. It's a little bit different from 1 to 2 point. I think that's really important to note. Now let's do the bottom one. Let me take a drink of soda here. Let's do the bottom one. as well. And then to do these cylinders or these ellipses in different directions, you just flip the plane that you're utilizing on as well. I won't put you through another one, but you know how to do that from the opposite side. Okay, so let's move now down to the bottom one. Let me move the camera out a little bit, and then we'll push this up with my drawing board so we can see these nice and cleanly. And let's go in, yada yada, and there we go, right? Okay, so let's figure out our touching points that we need. So we need touching points from the perspective center right through there, not the true half. Perspective center, now we come about halfway over here, right? Over. We'll have a touching point here, right? And then half, about half here. Try to keep those light. Mine are a little bit darker and they get in the way sometimes. We'll touch here, this point. Then half here, about right there. Touch here, and then about half right in through there. Now remember, you could draw, excuse me, it's here, not there. Sorry. Whoops, sorry. Messed that up. Make sure you do that right. Sorry about that. It's right, actually, right there. Be careful. Now you could draw these back over to the left vanishing point to get that line across. I don't like doing that because it's a lot of extra work. I guess pretty well, and when I'm off, I just adjust. So just keep that in mind. So I've done it both ways, and it just gets to be so many lines that it's like, give me peace here. So let's come in a little bit further and let's draw this. Let's nail this ellipse. Okay. So we'll start with the perspective center. We'll work our curve, working our curve over to here. Kind of want to come inside it just a bit where it turns, touch it. And, you know, I hate those dots, but they're there for a reason. We got to have them. So we come inside there. Got to have them for our guide. And then we'll keep on coming, keep on curving through, and that touches right there. Okay. That might be a little bit angled, so I don't even like it. So I'm going to start back over. So it takes me a while. Start back on over. Get it the way you want it. Don't be satisfied with mediocrity, right? And through here, coming on over. Through there and downward a little bit. It's a little bit maybe flatter there. And come through. And through that touch point. And then we'll come on through. Through that touch point there. Try to hit the inside part of it, not the outside, the inside. We'll come on through. Touch point right there. Hopefully I got my head out of the way. Sorry if it got me away. Touch point there. Okay. And we're going to come back up, and you can do it. Sometimes I like to start from this way and go down, because I know I'm shooting for there. Running through there. Touch point on the inside. That means the major thickness of the line is on the inside, not the outside. And then curve. Reconcile these two directions to that curve best I can. And I'll probably go back and clean that up a little bit. Yeah, I'll do it now, huh? So it starts to look a little flat, pointy, boxy, even on this side too as well. We can reconcile that up. These might be a little wide then. There we go. Okay, we'll come back over. It's okay if you don't get it right the first, second, third time. Keep on. See how many times it takes me to get a comfortable ellipse. There we go. Okay, and then we'll come back and over. Now I've got to come through here, through this top point. Okay, and over and hit that inside. Get over there. So I'm kind of visualizing the line, even though I can't see it in my mind. I'm visualizing it in my mind to try to see it on paper, and then see if my hand can do it, and then I reconcile those two together to get what I need. So there we come over, and I've just about got it finished. Now let's analyze it and see how we did. That's pretty good. I'm not liking that in there just a little bit, so let's clean that out. So I'll feather this out, just lightly brush over that, just to clean it. Now you see the residue of the line there. That's kind of what you want that. And over, keep on coming. All right, so you keep on coming through. All right, coming on through. Getting there. And there we go. That's a much cleaner ellipse. I like what I'm seeing there a lot better. So there we go. So now, of course, we have our major and minor axis coming together there at 90. Right in through there. I'll just do it in graphite. Right in through there at 90. Remember, this is top and bottom are both 90 degrees coming together. So that's why they're tilted in 2 point. So keep that in mind. In this particular view, they're tilted. So now, if we pull out a little bit, here we go. All right. So we pull that out some, and then we can project back from the right vanishing point where they touch our cylinder edge, right in through there, back to the right vanishing point, right, and back right there. There we go. We start to get the feel for how that's changing in plane and where the major and minor axes are, and then also how that could be later on significantly altered and placed for, you know, cylinders as well, because you've got a cylinder, and then you can recreate these two ellipses freehand. So we'll come across here, and you can say, okay, once you get a structured ellipse, you can start to feel what it's like in 2 point. So let me pull out just a little bit further here, and so we can say, let me bring this over to make it clean up a little nicer, so we can say we know that major axis is kind of pushed over. So even if you wanted a little bit of a guide beforehand, you'd have something like that, and you could say, okay, here's my ellipse, so I'm drawing from that one, and I'll probably draw a better one. I usually draw better freehand, just better, just looser. And that's why once we study ellipses and you know where they come from, I don't generally have my students do hardcore ellipses after, unless they need it for a reason. If you're doing formal perspective and you need it, then we do it. We don't push it away, but we certainly do it. So now we've got the major axis for that freehand. That's already nicer and cleaner and just easier. So there's our major axis here, and then the minor axis, right, comes through its center. So how do I measure that? Just like we did here to find the center, and you can also do this across, right, put it in a box right here, and also here and roughly and through there, and you're going to find that it's going to come through about half of that. The estimation is about right in through here, right? So there's your minor axis. Now we have to be at 90. Remember, we have to be at 90 degrees. So I've got, there's my 90 coming through my center point. Line up my tool there. Maybe a little bit higher. My dot's pretty big. There we go. There, and then I'll just recreate that line a little bit stronger all the way through. And then there's my minor axis. So major axis, minor axis, and what you want is, again, half, 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 and half. Just be careful on what you do with your perspective centers in 2 point. Okay, because we're in 2 point, we've got two planes to deal with. That's going to, that in the major and minor axis are off that mark. Just be careful of that. I think that's going to be then be a little bit confusing for you. But I don't want to be, and that's your half and half mark there. So if we did the other one up here, and we were just drawing it anywhere, we could, I mean, forget about the sky plane. I just draw it where it's comfortable for me to draw it. Maybe it's down here, so I'll just say, okay, I want to recreate this guy down here, and I'm just going to freehand now a major axis. Sometimes I don't even use them, but I'll freehand a major axis so I know that I want this to be equal. The major and minor axis give you help. And look at that. So we've got a nice ellipse in no time. Okay, I'm done. On to the next one, on to the next one, on. And you can get this done really fast. And of course, with your darker material tool, you can draw a little bit darker. So there's the major axis already in my ellipse already drawn with the help of a major axis. So there's the major, right? MAJ for major, and then the minor axis at 90 degrees from that. And I'm just going to guesstimate without putting it in the box. It just gets to be so old after a while, and you just draw ellipses and they look good without all this. But when you know it, you can draw them well, you can go back and correct yourself. So 90 degrees is right there coming through. All the way through. Bingo, right there. There's my minor axis that acts as the axis wheel, right, coming out. And of course, this is a 2-point because we know it's not straight up and down. So there's 90 degrees. There's 90 degrees over here, right? Make sure we get that. That's 90 degrees, and this is also 90 degrees right in through there. So we have a major minor axis to work from. And of course, we know that this goes back to a right vanishing point. And it looks kind of something like we're recreating the same thing, kind of like that. And this one kind of goes back like that, right? And that becomes, it could be anything. It could be a cup. It could be a turret. It could be anything you want. And of course, we want this, all our pie pieces to look half, 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 and half, or quarters around, if you will, half and half, half and half, just like that. Everybody gets an equal piece of the pie. So there you go. That's your 2-point ellipses. So not too terribly bad, I don't think. And I think you survived it. And we're going to do some more here in a minute, or a different lesson where we just do a lot of freehand. And then just enjoy the freehand. So once you understand the structure of your ellipses and how we get them in 1-point and 2-point, and really even also 3-point planar box forms, if you will. You don't even really need for 3-point. You don't even need the vertical vanishing point if you're keeping them pretty flat. So you can draw them freehand, draw them really well freehand, and double check your work that way. Okay, that was ellipses. That's a lot. And so we'll do one more. We'll go on to the last ellipse diagram, and we'll just do a lot of freehand. Okay.